Welcome to DY Sensei, where we'll simplify information from a variety of fields and help you maximize your health, relationships, and life's potential. I'm Des, and I come from a background of preventive medicine and psychology. In preventive medicine, we focus on lifestyle and environmental factors that can impact your health instead of through medical intervention. This could go from, physical activity, your diets, and much more. The main points of this is to keep you healthy and out of the hospital or the doctor's office. In this podcast, we'll have a new episode up and running for you about every Tuesday morning, and we'll talk about a wide range of topics to help you better understand the world and yourself, with each episode being about 15 to 30 minutes long, unless we have a guest on. We'll combine the best and most practical evidence and tips from a variety of fields, along with stories from our experiences, including our audience members who would like to share their own stories. Alright, so getting into the first episode and setting ourselves up for future ones, let's first talk about the mindsets for change so that any change you make will be long-lasting. It'll be a great way to start off with a new year, especially if you've already made some New Year's resolutions. To get into the mindset for change, let's first understand three main things. 1. The lens and paradigms we use to wear and see and understand the world. 2. Our freedom and ability to exercise personal responsibility. And 3. Critical thinking. Now, first and foremost, to understand about paradigms and lenses, let's talk about subjective and objective reality. So what is objective and subjective reality, and how are they different? Objective reality means there's a real and objective truth out there, outside of what you believe. While subjective reality is the way you perceive the world and its different situations. That isn't to say that for every idea or situation there's an objective truth, but in most cases there are. And to make it shorter, we're just going to call it the objective and subjective now. Now, thinking down at the individual level, why is subjective so important? In some cases, even more important than the idea of the objective. The reason for this is because we think, act, and feel based on the subjective. If we want to be most successful, though, and especially in terms of making a change in ourselves and our environment, we need to align the subjective to the objective. Let me give you an example here. Believing the world is flat is a subjective reality for some people, but it doesn't make it the objective. The truth is the earth is round. And if you try to get to the edge of the flat world, that won't happen. If you believe the world is flat and cuts off at the Pacific Ocean, you're probably not going to fly across the Pacific Ocean to get to Asia from the Americas. In this case, we can see how the objective and subjective do not align, and it can still play such a big role on our thoughts, actions, and feelings about something, and in this case, traveling. Now, going back to the lens and paradigms we use, paradigms are essentially like maps of how we see the world. It is the lenses, or you can think of it like a pair of glasses that we wear to see and understand the world, creating the subjective. If we wear shades, sunglasses, everything we see will seem dim. Just like if we hold the core assumption that people are selfish and cruel beings, we'll always be cynical in our interactions with other people. Paradigms are models or a representation of a reality. Imagine if you bought a rip-off model or figurine of your favorite singer Elvis Presley, and you wanted to create artwork that really represents his appearance, but this is your only source. Well, unfortunately, the factory that makes the figurines ran out of a particular pigment of paint and the shipments for left arm parts. And now the Elvis Presley's color tone is way off and he's missing a left arm. All your works will be based on this, and Elvis in your artwork is going to look very different in his skin color and also like an amputee. Let's give you another example. You're going on a cross-country trip with your family across America, but you're given a map of Europe instead. The map is the paradigm in this case, but it's not representative of what reality is. That's you're in America and not Europe, and you'll be driving yourself nuts trying to navigate through the country. This just shows how important it is to have a paradigm or lens that can see reality accurately, or at least attempts to explain it well. It is because of this we should also assess the lens and paradigms we use to understand our everyday world, life, and interactions, so that we can better achieve the results we want. If a health professional is telling you to eat McDonald's 3 times a day because it saves you time and you can put more of that time into exercise, and you live your life believing this, that if I eat fast food and puts the extra time that would be used to cook good and healthy home-cooked meals into exercise instead, I'll be way more healthy, well, you're probably going to be facing a lot more health problems. Now, on to the next part, freedom and personal responsibility. I want you to first understand that this is a type of lens to see the world. Sure, there are things outside of your control. Perhaps this is your family, upbringing, the environments that you have little to no say over, and these things really do have an impact on you. But remember this, in all circumstances that involves you do have a choice. You have the freedom to choose your own response. And that in itself is responsibility. It's like in Stephen Covey's 7 Habits book. For every stimulus and response, there's a choice in between. Be the one to act upon instead of being acted upon. When you're being acted upon, you're being reactive and not responsive. In this way, you can listen very closely to your inner dialogue. Ask yourself, how do you usually talk about things happening to you? Is it, I don't feel like exercising because it's cold today, or because it's their fault, not mine? Or is it instead, I should have, I could have, it's my fault? I'm not saying you should beat yourself over the head for things that don't go your way, but even by the thoughts and words of putting the onus on yourself means you have control over the situation and can create a better outcome that you want. It's not saying it's easy, but it's saying at least it's possible. You can't change other people or situation at times, but you can certainly control yourself, and that's a start. Imagine this, you're driving on the road and somebody cuts you off. You feel annoyed and can feel blood surging to your head. Your gut reaction is to road rage and tailgate the person. Or you can choose to take a deep breath, calm yourself, and choose to ignore what just happened. If you chose the latter, you chose to take control of yourself instead of giving in to your reactions and instincts. It just shows that we aren't necessarily the product of our environments and gut reactions, but we can always exercise our freedom to overcome our primal instincts. Remember, don't let things have power over you, but take charge of yourself instead. And that way, you can be proactive, take initiative, and make the difference you want in your life. It all starts with this mindset. Finally, onto critical thinking. Critical thinking is a hard one since it takes a lot of practice and not everybody likes doing it. It's easier to take a mental shortcut of relying on somebody else's expertise or word on something. But if you want to take a firm grasp on your own life, you need to think critically. Ask the questions why. Remember the lens and paradigms we talked about. Be sure to ask questions like, why do we think this way? Why is this the best method or approach? When we assess the lenses we wear, the better we understand any biases that come along with it, and guard ourselves against any bad surprises. Imagine this. You're on a vacation in a country with some very exotic fruits, and you've never seen or heard about them. There are 3 different vendors selling fruits, and each of these vendors only sell fruits that match their tastes. The first likes spicy, the second citrusy, and the third loves bitter fruits. If you had enough change to only buy one fruit, and that form your judgment about fruits from this country, and you pick only the ones from the first one, you'll think all fruits in this country are spicy. If the second, you'll think they're all citrusy, or worse, the third, where you'll think all fruits in this country are bitter. But if you chose to listen to the vendors or locals about the vendors' preferences and bias, you might have figured out the bias each one has, and your judgments of fruits in this country won't be totally biased, regardless of which vendor you chose from. For this reason, ask questions and try to understand where the information is coming from. Absorbing information is a lower level of thinking. A higher level of thinking involves understanding where the information comes from, what biases might exist, and what motivations and intentions are behind those who are giving you the information. And that's a wrap for our first episode. Remember to set the stage for effective and lasting change. You want to first understand you operate by a lens or paradigm to understand an objective reality out there. Subjective reality does not equal to objective reality. Second, value your freedom and know that you can always take personal responsibility to move towards the outcome you want. And third, think critically. Assess your lens, ask questions like why, and even where the information comes from. If you enjoyed this episode, tune in to our next episode every Tuesday morning. If you found it engaging or helpful, please make sure you smash the like button, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to share it with your friends and family. It's really crucial for this podcast. We're also on Spotify if you prefer to listen to your podcasts there. And if you have any questions or want to share your knowledge and experiences on this podcast, be sure to contact me at dysensei@dysstudios.com. That's dysensei@dysstudios.com. And with that said, class dismissed.